Another scandal for Harry and Meghan. Who's surprised? Absolutely no one. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle don't really have very many noteworthy, consistent, close connections or friends. Even though we've seen Oprah with Meghan a handful of times since that Oprah interview, it's not like they're besties, for example. But one person who has been perhaps their most consistent and ardent supporter, one who has been both publicly and privately supporting the couple and funding some of their stuff, including, rumored allegedly, one of the biggest donors to Archewell, is now embroiled in not one but two very serious lawsuits regarding SA and harassment type accusations and more. So what does this all say about them? Hello everybody, I'm Beebs Kelly. Welcome back to another video. Before we begin, I would like to invite you to click the hype button, the like button, and the subscribe button, but only if you want to. This makes sure you won't miss out on in-depth analysis of high-profile PR and the royals that you will only find here. So you know what they say about the company you keep. And this is all too relevant now for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, whose close friend, Tyler Perry, is beginning to look more and more guilty of highly inappropriate behavior, abuse of power and position, and entitlement. Maybe they really do have a lot in common. Before we take a look at what exactly is going on with Tyler and what Harry and Meghan have said about it, they are humanitarians after all. Surely, of course, they have made a statement about this. These are egregious accusations. Champions of human rights would be certainly making statements about this, wouldn't they? But let's just take a step back and review the history between Meghan, Harry, and Tyler so you understand exactly why this is important and why it matters about what Harry and Meghan have said. Because it's actually more bizarre than you would think. This story is super strange. These three people, Harry and Meghan and Tyler, had never met before. He was not a big enough star, I guess, to get invited to their wedding. The Meg had plenty of room for other strangers, including Oprah, but not Tyler. Poor guy. But he sent a letter praising Meghan. Perfect way to reel in the narcissist, unwarranted compliments. But he said that he was praying for her, that he understood the immense pressure she was under, and that if there was ever a time that she needed something, he was there for her. I mean, it sounds nice on the surface, right? But let's not be naive here. There is no reason to believe that this trio are not self-serving and at least sometimes toxic. There's a good chance that Tyler wanted a connection to them, to build a friendship with them for whatever reason. He may have envisioned big money casting Meghan in one of his movies. Who knows? But there is certainly a chance of an ulterior motive. It's rather rare to write a stranger and volunteer to help them should they need anything for no reason. That's a little bit not socially normal, right? That's not the standard. And there's also no way that Meghan didn't read that letter and immediately begin plotting how to use that to her advantage. Tyler Perry is a billionaire, you guys. He is one of the wealthiest producers and actors in Hollywood, and he's a self-made billionaire. So the Meg was probably like, sweet, Tyler's ready to be reeled in. They were reeling each other in, potentially. But 2 years later, after absolutely no contact, Meg just calls Tyler Perry out of nowhere, apparently crying, surely on the floor, about how they needed to escape Canada because the press found out that they were renting Yuri Milner's, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, mansion, via David Foster's help. And Tyler Perry, also bizarrely, it's a little bit going past what would be normal. He offered up his $18 million Beverly Hills mansion, a private jet, and security to help them get settled in California right before the borders closed due to COVID. Because of this, Harry and Meghan have described him as a savior. That's pretty intense on all sides. It seems excessively generous. It also seems a little intense to accept so much from someone. But I lack the ability to easily trust human beings, so maybe it's just me. Maybe this whole thing is normal. I would love to hear your opinions, but to me, I would never, on either side. None of these actions seem normal to me, someone with trust issues. This whole thing just feels very over the top on both sides. So they didn't actually even meet Tyler Perry at this point. He didn't come with for the freedom flight, you guys. They did not meet this man until after they had moved into his mansion. Weird and awkward, but their bond with him became so strong that he was the godfather to Lily. And that is a lot. That's a big deal, a very big deal. They describe each other as family. It was implied that Tyler was one of the people to suggest they start filming things to make a fake humanitarian one day. In the Oprah interview about 1 year after meeting and mooching off Tyler, they expressed immense gratitude for him and publicly credited him for basically providing them with security. I mean, what is happening? It's crazy. It's really a lot. I just have to say. Anyway, he was in their Netflix faux documentary. It was highly fictitious, but he was in it a lot and did like several different interviews and whatnot. In December 2024, just over a year ago, the Meg was photographed with him and supported him receiving an award of some kind. So all of this information is just to say that it's weird that they've said absolutely nothing since the initial SA accusations against Tyler Perry came out in June 2025. The fact that they have basically ignored this harassment suit, both of these harassment suits being launched against Tyler, is bizarre for someone who is your family, and for people as statement happy as the Sussexes, this is rather peculiar. So let's pause here to briefly discuss the accusations against Tyler Perry, and please excuse me for dancing around the topic just a tad because YouTube does get testy with certain vocabulary, so I'm just trying to be careful. Derek Dixon filed a suit in June 2025 for $260 million, alleging unwanted contact and coercion. Mario Rodriguez filed a suit in December 2025, that's $77 million, alleging SA, unwanted pursuit, and is also suing the studio that was overseeing the project he was working on for lack of action when he reported this behavior. Both men were actors who worked on Tyler Perry's projects and have provided evidence, including but not limited to explicit text messages of harassment and abuse of power or coercion. Although these suits are civil in nature and we cannot just jump to any conclusions here, it is important to pay close attention when a pattern is beginning to form, and it would appear one has emerged here, of using his position of immense power within his productions to pressure, take advantage, and pursue, allegedly, these men. And that's not nice at the very least, and super serious, highly problematic, even dangerous at worst. An example of the difference here between an accusation and being like, maybe this is actually true before a case has actually played out would be to compare it to, for example, Johnny Depp. He had many, many relationships with different women, not like crazy, but he had plenty of different girlfriends and he was married for a long time. And none of these women had any sorts of bad things to say about Johnny Depp, like at all. All of them thought he was very, very nice. All of his friends and family were like, this is absolutely untrue. He is a very kind and gentle human being. None of his partners ever said he did anything weird. And then Amber Heard came out of nowhere making all kinds of crazy stuff up. People didn't really believe it. And a lot of the professional connections that Johnny Depp had that had acted too soon, too prematurely to sever ties, ended up regretting it in the long run because it was obvious once the court case happened that Amber Heard was lying, manipulating, fabricating, exaggerating, and she lost, obviously. There was no pattern to corroborate Amber Heard's accusations. Here we do have two separate people who do not know each other, who worked on different projects at different times in different places, different types of projects, who both have similar negative things, experiences, etc., and cases that cover similar types of behavior, of the abuse of power and harassment, etc. So to me, this looks like the beginning of a pattern coming out. However, with someone who doesn't have multiple people saying things, and in fact, people are saying the opposite, that is probably not a pattern, duh. So this is a lot more serious because of the fact that there are two separate, isolated cases going on here that are demonstrating a consistent pattern of bad behavior from Tyler Perry. So although, like I said, we cannot jump to any conclusions, it is noteworthy that we have 2 separate lawsuits filed at this juncture. So Harry and Meghan have actually, shockingly, for humanitarians and champions of human rights and blah, 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 have neglected to put out a statement either way. Since these accusations first came out, they have not put out a statement of public support for Tyler Perry, nor one condemning such behavior and waiting to see how the case plays out. Like, neither one. If they were to put out a statement condemning the behavior or something of that nature, they would show that their moral character does not, is isolating them from being associated with somebody who's accused of bad behaviors, and perhaps show that they do care about standing up for what's right and justice and all of those things, but it would effectively end their relationship with their favorite, most generous billionaire, Tyler Perry. If they were to put out a statement of public support for Tyler Perry, it wouldn't necessarily look great for them either, but it would show that they're standing by their family, which, I mean, we know they don't tend to do, but it would be something, I guess, in a way. There's downsides to both. But Tyler Perry is said to be hurt to the bone that the Sussexes haven't supported him publicly, that they haven't said anything about this. And according to sources close to Tyler, they haven't reached out on a private capacity either, leaving Tyler feeling abandoned as the Sussexes have prioritized self-preservation over their familial bond. Well, that shouldn't be news to anyone. You saw them lie for years, on TV even, about their own family. So why would they offer any degree of loyalty to Tyler, or anyone else for that matter? Meg has a pattern of ghosting friends, and Harry does now too. He's stopped talking to a great number of old friends from the UK, or they stopped talking to him. I suppose we have less details, as some of them did so because of Harry's loose lips. Anyway, that's not the point. Their silence has drawn criticism because of the perceived hypocrisy on both sides of the coin. Basically, they're in a lose-lose of their own making. If they speak out about justice and condemning poor treatment of people by those in power, it would align with their champions of justice image they like to claim, but, as I said, it would effectively end their connection with Perry. If they make a statement in support of Tyler, they put themselves in the firing line, especially if he's found liable, which would only further tarnish their brand for standing by or publicly supporting somebody accused of egregious actions. Either way is a predicament, though, because regardless of statements, unless he's completely absolved and the cases are dismissed and or he wins a defamation countersuit, it looks bad that they were ever associated with somebody who behaves so terribly. Even if Tyler Perry ends up coming out of this absolutely squeaky clean, their silence will come back to bite them, as I'm sure he'd feel all the more bitter, and they'd look as though they neglected to defend their savior and put their fear of backlash or bad press and attempts at brand preservation above their savior. Okay? Others often judge your reputation based on the actions of your friends, even if you do not participate in the actions yourself. So I guess they are kind of in a pickle by default now. Thank you for joining me for today's short little video. Please leave your thoughts in the comments section. I look forward to reading them. I hope you have a happy day ahead, and I will see you next time. Bye!